We are Marshall.
And this is our story.
On November 14th, 1970, a plane carrying the Marshall University football team, home from a loss at East Carolina, crashes on approach to Tri-State Airport. All 75 aboard perish.
Now, after decades have passed, Hollywood filmmakers are making a movie about the community that persevered, the young team that triumphed, and the spirit that lives in us today.
This is our story.
And we are
Your home for complete Marshall University news. This is MU Report.
Good afternoon and welcome to this special edition of MU Report. I'm Shane Irwin.
And I'm Jordan Smith.
The Warner Brothers movie could have no other title. It will indeed be called We Are Marshall.
The heart of the movie will include that 10-month span in 1970 and 71 that includes the loss of the East Carolina game, the tragedy of the crash, the difficult times that followed, and ultimately the victory over the young Thundering Herd and Xavier in the second game of the 1971 season. Some contemporary scenes will also be included.
Today we will have comprehensive coverage of the filming, the stars, and the reaction. But we begin with a look at the key figures who would tell our story, the Marshall story, to the world. Here's MU Report's Amanda Weber.
Let's see that again from that action place there.
The production team is headed by producer Basil Iwanek and director Joseph McGinty-Nicol, better known as McG. They have made it very clear that the Marshall story will be treated with the utmost respect.
We are passionate about this story because the story is true. I don't want to bring Hollywood to this story. I want the story to come to the forefront, to come to fruition. A story about how people deal with immeasurable grief, rely on their community, rely on their family, and rise out of the ashes to be the best that they can be.
I have too many friends here in this town to let them down. And I'm confident, and we're all confident, because I have an amazing group of people working on this movie, not just professionally, but personally. They're decent, they're hardworking, they're good people, and this is going to be a great experience.
And that is cool.
Iwanek and McG have assembled a group of well-known actors, including the man People magazine called the sexiest man alive, Matthew McConaughey. McConaughey will play the coach of the young Thundering Herd, Jack Lingle.
I'll say this: it's an honor to be stepping in to his proverbial shoes to go represent him as an actor in this film. What he did were some life-affirming things, some very inspiring things.
Matthew Fox doesn't usually have red hair, but to play assistant coach Red Dawson, it was a necessity.
Both McG and I really felt that it was important that we give some reason for the justification of the name Red. So, you know, the sort of the changing the hair color and you know, was something that we both had talked about a bit and felt that we wanted to give a tinge, something that could be easily changed back.
Academy Award nominee David Strathairn will act as Marshall's president in 1970, Dr. Donald Deadman.
We are, as actors, as performers, we're like conduits, and you know, I don't look anything like the man, and I'm not sure if that's the bottom line responsibility is to be that guy. It's more to be the spirit of the man.
Anthony Mackie has the role of Nate Ruffin. Ruffin was the captain of the 1971 team.
Out of all the people who survived, all the people that perished, everybody remembers and knows Nate. And you know, I just want to do him and his family justice.
Much of the movie will be shot in Huntington and even on campus. The production team says they wanted that touch of realism.
The town of Huntington, West Virginia is a character in this film, and it will be treated with the greatest respect. And to me, it's a little town that wouldn't quit. And that's what's got us all so excited. So you're going to see 4th Street, Keith Albee, gyms, you know, the great churches of the community, the Ohio River, the bridges. You're going to get it all. And the film, for all intents and purposes, is going to be shot in Huntington, West Virginia.
The football scenes will be shot in Atlanta because producers thought Edwards Stadium was too modern and did not reflect the tough times the football program was going through in the 1970s. Amanda Weber, MU Report.
One of the female stars of the movie is Kate Mara. Mara plays head cheerleader Annie Cantrell. The cheerleaders were not on that flight back to Huntington after the East Carolina game. Mara has a football background. Two of her great-grandfathers are New York Giants founder Timothy Mara and Pittsburgh Steelers founder Art Rooney. Other stars of the We Are Marshall movie include January Jones, Ian McShane, and Kimberly Williams Paisley.
The movie's writer is Jamie Linden. He says he feels a responsibility to write a great story because the story is so great.
It's an amazing story to find. I mean, it's amazing that it hasn't been told yet because it's really an incredible story, and it's one of those things where, if it wasn't true, nobody would ever believe us, and then if it had been fiction, people would say it's bad writing.
The budget for the movie has not been announced, but according to the university, it is considered a mid-range production costing in the tens of millions of dollars. The area Huntington and campus movie scenes were all shot over a 3-week period in April, but the process of getting to that point lasted months.
How are you? I'm Mick G. Hey, good to see you.
Director Mick G and producer Iwanek made several trips to the area in the months before shooting. They got the approval of key figures, announced plans to the media, and even got an occasional earful from fans. The excitement in the community was evident from the start as citizens made known their desire to serve as extras, even if it meant standing in long lines into the evening. In the days immediately before filming began, the community hosted a block party to welcome the cast and crew with open arms.
All together. 1, 2, 3. We are Marshall!
The lights and the cameras in place, it was time for the action.
Movie making on a college campus that is still having classes is a challenge for both the filmmakers and the university, but the two work together with minimal complaints. The 125-person production team filmed the college scenes in 7 days scattered over the 3 weeks of local filming. Shooting took place in the dorms, the student center, the campus Christian Center, and other buildings around Marshall's campus.
Several of the most important scenes, though, take place outside and involve large numbers of extras. One is the scene that gives the movie its name. It's quickly evident that a number of people wanted a chance to be a part of one of the most impactful scenes of the new Marshall movie. In the movie, these Marshall fans and students are urging the president to continue playing football. But there was plenty of preparation leading up to this point.
Sergeant, come in, register.
People started filing into Marshall's Henderson Center at around 6 in the morning. Rolling out of bed this early is a problem for a lot of people. But when there isn't any sleep involved, getting up isn't an issue.
I stayed up all night because I wanted to be here early. I wanted to be one of the first ones here to say, hey, I was here. I was one of the first ones.
Regardless of the time they arrived, everyone who made it out had plenty of different reasons for getting involved, including Justin Reveley.
People have been walking up to me to tell me I should be in this movie, that's for an extra, because of my hair, because they haven't seen an afro in a long time.
A number of other students came out not because of looks, but instead for the experience the movie provides.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it's something that I can get the movie when it comes out and look back and say, hey, I was in that crowd.
But before any crowd could form, students and community members who filed in had to first register, get a raffle ticket, and were then left to wait and let the excitement of the day build.
It's going to be awesome. I have to say that hopefully the excitement will be there, and even though it's early in the morning, hopefully that they will come out with it.
Later in the day, it became apparent that Rebecca would get her wish. Today's early start time wasn't enough to stop over 1,000 people from showing up here at Marshall's Morrill Field. The excitement wasn't lost on those who finally got a chance at the big screen.
I'm a theater major, and it's an excellent experience for me in the field that I'm training in right now. And also, it's an amazing story, and it's amazing that they're putting so much time and effort into making the story.
A great deal of time expended not only by those making the movie, but by the many people who helped make it memorable as well. The students on Buskirk Field are chanting to be heard in a boardroom scene taking place on the 3rd floor of Morrill Library.
And in that part of the scene, Nate Ruffin is trying to convince the university president and the board to continue with the football program by pointing to the crowd outside. The extras in the boardroom scene include many on the current Marshall Board of Governors, some university administrators, and even a few faculty and staff, all dressed and looking like they might have in the 1970s.
It was the hope of perhaps many of the students who participated in the We Are Marshall scene, the hope that perhaps they would be singled out with a chance to shine in the spotlight. It happened to one student. Here is his story in a series we are calling Student Voices from the Set.
My name is Brian Casto, and I'm an extra in the Marshall movie. They had us do the We Are Marshall chant. 16 hours of shooting, hot as can be, wearing winter clothes, in springtime, and then all of a sudden we moved, and not only did they like look at me and pick me, but I'm like the center of the scene. It was the coolest thing ever. It's amazing, like just seeing all the people and all the things that go into it. I mean, whenever you break for them to readjust their cameras, I mean, they have to move everything and then move everybody and make sure everybody's doing the same thing when they're supposed to be. It's wild. Very nervous. I thought they were just picking me like to be like up front reading a newspaper or something. I didn't know I was gonna be in the center. I was trying not to shake while holding the paper, especially when they did close-up of the paper. It's hard. I mean, I was like stoked just to be in the movie at all, but to be like in a scene, even if it gets cut, it'll be in the deleted scenes maybe. McG said, "You're awesome, keep doing what you're doing." You have to have a speaking role to be in the credits, but it would be cool to be a newspaper guy. I could deal with that.
Look for 2 more stories and our student voices from the set series spread throughout this newscast.
The newspaper Casto reads in the scene he just told you about is a mock-up, one created just for the movie by a journalism student. With more on that story is Paul Gessler from our newsroom. Paul?
Thanks, Jordan. You know, being the prop master of a major motion picture can be difficult and demanding, especially involving real people in real places. That's where Dwight Benjamin Creel comes in. Dwight solicited the help of the Parthenon's executive editor, Matt Hott. Matt's job was to design newspapers from 1971 to be used in the movie. Dwight says the most difficult part is the enormity of the job.
Frequently, the biggest challenge is not having to do any one prop, or it has to do with quantity. It has to do with the number of people that we have to take care of at like football games and some of the crowds and so on and so forth.
And now I'm joined by Matt Hott. Matt, walk us through the process of being asked to contribute your skills to the movie.
Dwight, the prop master, came to me one day and said, "We're needing some help. We're looking through your archives and we're wanting to make a Parthenon." And he said, you know, since you all are the Parthenon, we could have you guys do it. It'd be helpful. You'd know it's accurate. So he came to me and said, "We want this headline." We brought this, that was the August 17th, 1971 issue. We pulled that up in the archives, pulled headlines from that issue, and then recreated it.
Cool. Now, when you see your creation sitting in the newspaper bins on set, what goes through your mind?
It was more of a surprise, really. I walked on set for filming and I looked over and saw it sitting there. I'm like, oh, wow, that was mine. I did that. And it was just something, it was different to see it, to know that I had seen it on screen, but it actually happened. It was going to be in the film.
Now, Matt, you've covered this story from the very beginning for the Parthenon. In fact, you broke the story that the movie would be titled We Are Marshall. You were also cast as an extra. Now, you wear so many hats: reporter, prop designer, extra. Which for you is the most fulfilling?
The most important thing was being a reporter with, because that's how I got to be the other stuff. Had I not met the people through being a reporter, I would not have been given the opportunities. Knowing the people in charge gave me the chance to meet other people and really become a part of the movie.
Great. Well, guys, I hope this gives you a glimpse of the fine detail involved with putting a movie like this together. Even the headlines below the fold that likely won't even be on the movie screen are historically accurate. With Matt Hott from the newsroom, I'm Paul Gessler. Now back to you guys.
The newspapers are an example of the lengths the production crew will go to ensure an authentic look for the movie.
But one case of realism didn't have to be staged. The very same fire truck first on the scene of the plane crash in 1970 will be the first on the scene in the movie.
Megan Robiteau reports.
When these kids found out this old fire truck was in the movie, they just had to come try it out for size. No doubt it's a story they'll tell their kids one day, but this truck has some stories of its own. The story it will be most famous for is being the first to respond to the site of the plane crash. That's just one of the reasons it was chosen to play a leading role in the movie. But for the truck's owner, Lane Chandler, the red star being on the silver screen was a more emotional experience.
It kind of be a lot of peace and a lot of rest for the families. The fire department itself, that was a lot of bad memories for them, and they'd rather forget it.
In its big screen debut, the truck had some familiar faces tagging along. Canova volunteer firefighters were used to portray the firefighters that responded the night of the crash.
I was driving the truck in the movie. My brother drove the truck in the original crash.
And Lane says after a few tricky run-throughs, the truck came through in a clutch.
They had the last call, the last run. They didn't think the truck was going to make it through. And whenever it come down to the hard times, it's like the truck's always done, it made it home.
56 model is still going strong and capable of fighting fires today. And as long as Lane has anything to do with it, it will continue to protect its hometown. Megan Robiteau, MU Report.
Probably the most obvious of the concessions to make the city and campus look like the 70s was the wardrobe. Ben Hunt takes us to that retro fashion show that was campus.
Filming of We Are Marshall has put the Huntington campus in a time warp, and the wardrobe of the cast says it all. Countless corduroys and plenty of polyesters help the visual images match the early 1970s.
It's kind of weird seeing everybody walk around looking like they're from the 70s.
And to someone who was at Marshall during the period, everything is spot on.
They really did nail the wardrobe and the cars and the sideburns and everything else.
Having the proper attire on the cast is essential to authenticating the movie, according to Warner Brothers' production team.
Costume designer and hair and makeup. If you saw, we had hair and makeup tests a couple days ago. These guys look really cool. And they look like they were in 1971.
I wouldn't say cool.
I wouldn't say cool. That would be the third word out of my mouth.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool.
I thought it was cool too.
We were wearing a lot of upholstery.
It was cool. We just didn't look cool.
With so many vintage clothes at its disposal, We Are Marshall's actors and extras alike should have it easy getting in style. 70s style. Ben Hunt, MU Report.
The way campus looks in the movie is the way it looked before it looked like it used to look, which is the way it will look again. Confused? Now you know how some Marshall students feel. Dana Bateman has a story of the campus movie makeover.
Perhaps the biggest change was in the Memorial Student Center. Modern-day furniture was replaced with 70s decor. Touch-dial payphones were traded for rotary dial ones, and the white walls received a fresh coat of yellow paint. Other changes were also visible around campus. Banners reflecting the signs of the times were hanged from dormitories, and the Marshall University sign outside of Old Main was replaced. Even old-fashioned bicycles were placed outside of Hodges Hall. Members of the movie production team and the Marshall maintenance crew worked for several weeks to make this transformation possible.
To remember, so that's pretty neat. It's a lot of fun to look through all the old books and see what kind of music was popular and just what went on at Marshall back then compared to now.
Even the buds were removed from the trees to make spring 2006 look like November of 1970. Marshall student Sarah Booth says the small changes made a big difference.
They did a good job being really accurate with the time period and the way it looked in the time period. Like everything was just little things made such a big difference when I was walking around campus, and then I'd see like, oh my gosh, that wasn't there before.
And it's these little details that allowed students to experience an era that had such a large impact on Marshall. Dana Bateman, MU Report.
Filming took place all around the area, and one location took advantage of a spectacular view. While the film crews were in the area, this location was kept secret.
The secret is out, and the stars have been spotted in Canova. A normally quiet neighborhood in this usually uneventful town welcomed a very big occasion.
The Marshall movie has been one of the biggest things to happen to Huntington in a really long time, and for an even smaller town like Canova, it really seems to feel like Hollywood.
Matthew McConaughey took my breath away, actually.
McConaughey and the other actors were filming at this house, which will be the home of assistant football coach Red Dawson in the movie.
The reason that they actually did pick this actual place in Canova on Barger Hill was because of the view back here. You got the view of Canova and Shrito, and then if you look way in the back, you got Huntington in the background and the Ohio River, so it's a really nice view.
And just as movie producers thought the view from Barger Hill was good, fans watching the actors thought their view was even better.
And it was just so awesome. Like, you do not wake up and see a movie star 2 houses down from you.
And what Shelby was seeing was how Barger Hill might have looked in the 1970s. Movie producers made sure everything, from the house to the cars on the street, was from that era. Dave Kirk owns a 1965 Rambler convertible that was chosen to be in the movie.
I'm just thrilled that my car was picked, out of around 290 cars.
John and Shelby say seeing their small town in the Hollywood spotlight was exciting, and both were surprised by how down-to-earth the celebrities could be.
While all the girls were chasing McConaughey and Fox around, David Strathairn was sitting over there all by himself, and I was with my buddy who was walking his dog, and he just started petting his dog and just started talking to us, and we sit there and talked to him for about a half an hour.
And I told him, I said, I did not get to meet Matthew McConaughey, but you tell him to come to my house and my mom will cook him a country dinner since he's a country boy.
Small-town hospitality meets big-city action.
Filming for the movie also took place at the Spring Hill Cemetery, the Greyhound Station, the Steel of West Virginia Mill, and other places around the area.
For many students, the opportunity to work behind the scenes for the movie sounded like a great idea. For one student, though, working for the sound team sounded even better. Here's the next installment in our series, Student Voices from the Set.
My name's Shay Hannon, and I work with the sound department. I'm their intern. This is my first time being on set with a big movie production. I usually just run errands for them. I, charge batteries. I'm learning how to do the paperwork. Anything they need, I just help them out. The people on the set, the crew, they're all great people, down to earth, very polite. Everyone gets this misconception about Hollywood, the people in this movie, that they're different, but they're real people. They treat everyone the same, and it's just great to see that. Every time I watch the actors, I'm learning, and I take everything I learn and watch, I grow, and I want to use it in the future. I got a head start. It reassures me every day this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I get to see what's in the future, what it's all about, what to look forward to. Huntington is in this movie. It's a big Warner Brothers production. I cannot believe I'm really working on this.
Creative license, and although producers of the We Are Marshall movie have stuck to the major details of the true story, some minor details have been altered.
The university usually doesn't have a major ceremony in the spring when the Memorial Student Center fountain is turned back on after the winter.
But since spring is when the movie makers were here and they wanted a big emotional scene, that's what they got.
For this ceremony, the community was invited and they turned out by the thousands. But the students also played a role.
Keely Martin has the story.
There's a lot of people who aren't with us today, but I got a feeling they're with us nonetheless.
While the scene may have been staged for the movie, the emotion was real. So it was perhaps appropriate that before filming began, the crowd was led in prayer.
May the story that was inspired by those whose lives were cut far too short, and by those whose spirit took up the cause in the days ahead, may that story bring hope to a world who desperately needs to know how to experience life out of the ashes. Amen.
The fountain scene is set in the modern day, and it's expected to come at the end of the movie after all the story of the plane crash and aftermath has played out.
And then at the end of the film, we come back here to we're right above the fountainhead, and you're going to see the camera go right in here and grab that. And the water's going to turn back on and spring to life, and the camera's going to pull out and up and reveal the face of Marshall in 2006.
The crowd numbered in the thousands and featured Marshall alumni and friends from around the country. For many in the crowd, it wasn't about the brush with fame. It ran much deeper than that.
I was here when it actually happened, and I was a part of that. And I was in a part of the healing process as well. And so I just wanted to be a part of the happiness thereafter.
And action.
The scene honors a part of our history and a part of who we are, but it would be difficult to forget it was also a part of a movie.
Cut. Great. All right. We managed to soak the camera. Oops.
And even though it's a small part, you're helping out. And if you can watch it on the screen and be like, well, there I am, and point yourself out, it's kind of fun.
Before today, I really didn't think it was that big of a deal, but now that I'm here and see so many people out here, I think it's pretty cool that I actually get to be out here and hopefully get to be in the movie.
The scene will feature Jack Langle, Red Dawson, and a few of the other real-life characters portrayed in the movie. Keely Martin, MU Report.
Marshall basketball fans know him as a third-team all-conference basketball player, but movie watchers will see him as a two-sport star. Mark Patton played the center forward position for the Herd, but he will also play football in the movie. He says he's happy to be taking part in a story he is very familiar with.
Been to Marshall games, growing up,
being from here. So just to see, you know, where they are today, you know, it's a really special story. And for me to be a part of that, you know, on the movie screen, it's going to be a real special thing.
On his first day of acting, Patton played in a scene opposite the star of the movie, McConaughey.
I wasn't too starstruck at the time, but, you know, once the scene was all wrapped up and everything, I looked back and I was like, wow, I actually did that. And, you know, it's something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Patton's character is recruited by Coach Lingle to play football after the coach sees him playing in a particularly physical basketball game.
Imagine you are in your normal routine when you just happen to run across a celebrity. Now imagine you're a young girl and that celebrity is the sexiest man alive.
Since filming began for the We Are Marshall movie, excited fans have been keeping their eyes open, hoping to catch a glimpse of some stars. But for a group of track team members, their celebrity sighting was completely unexpected and in a very unusual place.
Right here on Marshall University's track, the 11 middle school girls got an opportunity of a lifetime, and they ran with it. Let's go!
In this home video taken by Enslow Middle School's track coach, the girls on the team challenged one of Hollywood's biggest stars to a race. And much to the girls' surprise and delight, Matthew McConaughey accepted.
Me and Peyton were in the second race, and he went around the whole track with us, and then like he passed me at near the end.
And Peyton's gonna beat him.
And then he passed her at like the very, very end.
The girls were impressed by McConaughey, but the race also left an impression on him. He told movie director McGee about his near defeat, who then shared the story at the movie's press conference at the Keith Albee Theater.
There were two young girls, middle school girls.
Long legs, though. Long legs.
Two middle school girls who kind of gave him the...
A race?
You want a race? And they wanted a piece of him in the 400 meters.
McConaughey's challengers were excited.
It was just like a lifetime thing because nothing ever happens here, and to have a movie star come and talk to you and take a picture with you and run with you was just really exciting.
So what should have been a day of running laps and practicing sprints turned into hanging out with a celebrity and taking pictures.
You may have seen McConaughey's dog in the video. The girls enjoyed meeting Foxy too, just not as much.
The movie is generating some national buzz. Several magazines such as People, Us Weekly, published photos from the movie set of McConaughey and Fox in 1970s attire. Sports Illustrated had stories in both the online and print editions, and ESPN was interviewing people such as Chad Pennington about the movie for the show Cold Pizza. We did a simple Google search before this show. The phrase "We Are Marshall" already produces more than 100,000 hits.
West Virginia has a lot to gain by the movie's popularity. That may be one of the reasons Governor Joe Manchin named Matthew McConaughey an honorary West Virginian. The governor says the We Are Marshall story has a lesson for the country.
The determination to succeed, the determination to rebuild, life does go on, you know, and we never forget, but it doesn't stop us from proceeding on, and I think that's what's going to show us the human spirit.
The DVD that will be sold accompanying the movie will have a promotional announcement for the state by the governor.
Marshall University could not have asked for a better title for the movie. We Are Marshall is, of course, the university's most common cheer.
And the university stands to gain a lot of nationwide recognition when the movie is released.
But the emotional investment Marshall has in the story is perhaps the most important.
So the university needed someone looking out for its best interest.
Kirsten King reports.
This film wouldn't be here and wouldn't have the Marshall logo on it without Keith.
The Marshall point man for the movie project has been Vice President for Communications, Dr. Keith Spears. Dr. Spears has worked tirelessly with the production team to maximize the positive exposure for the university.
Marshall University was a great university prior to the crash. It's a great university now. As we go throughout this production, we have every belief right now that McGee, Iwanek, McConaughey, Strathairn, every one of them right down the line, we're going to make this the way it should be done.
The university doesn't have any creative control over the movie, but so far Dr. Spears says he's pleased with the way the production has been going, overcoming some mild initial concerns about the age of the movie's team.
Jack Lingle was in his mid-30s. Red Dawson was 28. The boys on that plane were 18 through 21. It is a young person's story. And Basil says we can tell it from a young person's perspective. It sold me.
A movie with such big stars will obviously draw attention, and Dr. Spears says the university will have to be ready for the exposure that will come when the movie is released.
The title alone, We Are Marshall, will raise questions. Who are Marshall? We want to be prepared in order to answer that question.
Spears also worked with the movie crew to ensure current students got internship opportunities during the filming. Kirsten King, MU Report.
The movie is expected to premiere in December, and it is hoped that it will premiere here in Huntington.
One of those interns helped by Dr. Spears worked closely with the film crew, and her shining moments came in front of the camera. But you won't see her in the movie, even though she left her mark on many scenes. Her story is the third and last installment in our student voices from the set.
My name is Sherry Leger. My role is to help out in the camera department. I'm just totally thrilled to actually be able to help with this in some small way. Like, I didn't care if all I was doing was carrying them coffee just to see what was going on, but they've actually let me really help with a lot of things. A lot of the grunt work is carrying film back and forth if they put it in what they call a mag, which is short for a magazine. I don't know why they let me do that, because it's lots of money worth of equipment, but they do. I haven't dropped anything yet, maybe that's why. It's crazy. They'll tape a scene with maybe 2 or 3 cameras, and then they'll move them around and tape the same scene another 50 times with 2 or 3 cameras. My moment to shine is when I get to mark the scenes. That's pretty much my favorite part. It's my shining moment in front of the camera.
As we've seen, the movie served as a great real-world experience for both theater and media production students, but some public relations students also benefited. The movie's promotion manager, Ernie Malik, invited several PR students to the set to discuss his job and to even help him do it. The students say it was fun and educational.
That you normally would get, especially living in Huntington or West Virginia. It's not every day that a feature film's being made in your town, so it was really great to hear his experiences and his advice.
Malik also spoke on campus to a Public Relations Student Society of America meeting.
The final day of shooting in Huntington and on campus focused on getting fan shots during the annual Green-White Spring football game. Also making the spring game special this year was a reunion of Marshall's 1996 Division I AA National Championship team. As Megan Sellers reports, the record crowd didn't disappoint filmmakers.
It's hard to say whether people came to the game for the herd, the heroes, or the heartthrobs.
Give it up for Matthew McConaughey!
But whatever it was, it caused more than 17,000 people to pack the stands. McConaughey, Mara, and Mackey all came out for some Marshall madness. But one little girl wasn't concerned with the game at all.
What's been the highlight of this ball game so far?
Having Kate on my show.
What do you like most about Kate?
She's beautiful.
The stars lined the sidelines, and the game made their Marshall memories more special.
It's pretty fun. It's pretty exciting. I love football, so I'm glad that we all got to come.
It's just incredible to see how devoted everybody is to the program and the school, and hopefully, you know, when the movie comes out, it's going to make a whole bunch of more Marshall fans across the nation.
Marshall fans gave the film crew a true Hollywood send-off, but McGee had one last present before he left Huntington. A field goal worth $20,000. Money that will not replace a lifetime of Marshall memories. Megan Sellards, MU Report.
Several members of that 1996 championship team are acclaimed NFL stars. They say they are glad the Marshall story is being told. Perhaps that's the most fitting way to end this special MU report devoted to the filming of the We Are Marshall movie.
An illustration of the past connected to the present, the tragedy connected to the glory, the people connected to the place, and we are Marshall.